Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this stream of Hearts of Iron 4 single player, where unfortunately we had to drop the multiplayer game with Kaiserreich Weekly and Hearts of Iron 4 Discord because it was just too unstable. So we're going to switch back to playing as the Sublime Ottoman Federation, and if you did miss the latter part of the streams yesterday, as I know a few of you in chat have been saying that you did, the map may look fairly similar and fairly familiar, but obviously we have a different name. And that is because chat decided to vote out Kemal Ataturk. So Ataturk is no longer the Prime Minister. The OHF, which are the more authoritarian Democrats, were voted out pretty overwhelmingly and have instead been replaced by the Liberal Coalition, which are led by the Social Liberals with Prince Sabahaddin Effendi in charge, so he is now the Prime Minister with a massive civilian factory construction speed boost, which we will be making use of probably sooner rather than later. And we also have a growing sector of the Social Conservatives who are in the coalition, though also somewhat opposed to the coalition. And in fact, at the moment, we are now a regular democracy. We're no longer like this authoritarian pseudo-democracy. We are a proper democracy. But we are losing support because we have been pushing through some pretty radical reforms to the extent where we've actually reformed as much as we can of the nation to this point. We haven't brought gendarmerie reforms. We haven't redistributed the Miriland. That's mostly because we just don't have the support to push this through. But we've done everything else. So we're starting to switch back to the military. We're trying to get the specialized desert regiments because there is ongoing problems throughout the Ottoman Empire, particularly around Basra. We did just have a big uprising in Kuwait, which we put down. The Assyrians rose up because we wouldn't let them murder the Marsh Bedouin, which are from Iran. They were like, hey, can we raise a militia to defend ourselves? I was like, sure, yeah, I'll even send you some garrisons. Then we're like, hey, we're going to use the levies to go and attack the Marsh Bedouin and wipe them out. And I was like, no, you're going to disband. And they were like, no, we're not. And I was like, all right, I'll kill you. So we did. So that has now been brought back under the thumb, but there are still ongoing issues elsewhere. But our military has been growing pretty nicely. We're pretty strong. Our camel divisions in particular getting a lot better. Currently training a couple of new units that we've brought in. We actually have a big surplus of equipment. We could actually start training some more, and I like that idea. Let's go down to, say, 60,000. Should be able to bring in the guns pretty quick. Oh, hang on. We don't have the capacity for this. We can recruit another 4 divisions. We seem to have lost 4 divisions somewhere along the line, because we're at our supported division limit otherwise. Okay, that sounds good. Do we have volunteers or something out? I think we might do, because we used to have 3... Yes, we do. We have volunteers in transit, so this may actually put us over the limit, so let's drop those 2. Baratia has declared war on the Princely Federation, so the war over here is breaking out. Now, at the moment, we're somewhat Entente aligned, so we'll probably be trying to support the Dominion of India here. And actually, our camel riders might come in useful. Oh, it's these 2 at war. Never mind. The Sublime Ottoman Federation is hilarious. We're the Sublime Port, so it's kind of using that. And Don Bassos wants me to drink some tea. Alright then. I like the flag. The star's meant to show the different cultural groups of the Ottoman Empire, and the bigger star, that's the Sultan or something like that. I would imagine so. I don't know, though. Like, the flag is never really described. Is supported... I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, Katie. Is supported the something, a mod thing, or a vanilla thing? I don't know what the thing is. Marsh Arabs are Shias, and the Assyrians are Christian under Sunni Saddam Hussein in the 1980s and 1990s. Both of them got massacred a lot, and there isn't many left in either in real history. It was rather sad to see them fighting each other. The Azorians are the Nestorian Christians, Church of the East. Gotcha. Well, if they just said, we want to use these levies to defend ourselves, I'd be like, fine. I will even provide a garrison for you to help defending yourselves. And they're like, we're going to use our levies to go and massacre the other guys now. No. That's just, like, encouraging this conflict. And then they were like, fine, we declare independence. I was like, no you don't. Squish. Speaking of conflict, East Africa is looking ripe to explode, thus creating a Mad Max Battle Royale from Khartoum to Mogadishu. East Africa? I think that Ethiopia and Somalia do fight, but that's changed. Somalia is a heck of a lot bigger than I remember them being. Oh, we'll see. The supported divisions thing. Oh, you're right, that's a Kaiserreich thing. So Old World Blues has tried to reduce the number of units or number of divisions that the AI creates to stop lag. And they do that through the cap system, so the more caps... Sorry, the more divisions you have, the more caps it will cost you, so there's kind of a soft cap depending on how good your economy is. And then in this, it's a cap, I don't know how it's determined, probably by population? No, factories. It's determined by factories and mobilization level. And this is also a soft cap. But there are, like, escalating penalties if you go over it. Because the total provided by factories is lower than the number of owned states. Oh, okay, so... Because we're a fairly large empire with 42 states, that is the cap instead. But ordinarily that would be determined by factories and then modified by your mobilization. So we're still early mobilization. We're still not very well... spinning up in terms of the wheels of war, though war support is still quite low too. Creation of the State Airlines General Directorate. Seen as one of the most vital technological advancements of the era, the Ottoman government has always been a keen interest in the field of aviation, as its potential for partisan suppression and quick communication are essential for maintaining the integrity of the sublime state. Besides military application, however, there has been a growing interest in the potential for civilian transportation by air from the centre of the periphery. To cater to this demand, the government has struck a partnership with the German aircraft manufacturer Junkers, enabled to construct the licence-built planes within the Ottoman Empire. Even though the empire doesn't readily possess the technological prowess or degree of industrialisation to mass-produce aircraft, this sector of the industry has been absorbed into state directives as essential to the interests of the Ottoman state. The current airline, operated by the Ministry of Defence, has also been rebranded as the State Airline General Directorate and folded into the Department of Transportation. Whilst ambitious plans for the airport in Constantinople have also been drafted up, the lack of funding has postponed these indefinitely, with the already collected funding instead shifted towards the expansion of airstrips in Baghdad, Beirut, Mecca and Misruta. We take to the skies. Yeah, our Air Force has the potential to be really good. This is going to give us 2 new factories, and I'm going to put that onto making fighters and CAS, I think. Can't take the name Junkers seriously. It's Junkers, not Junkers. Division cap gives a good incentive to go total mobilization late on. That's interesting. Muscat accepts our offer. Answering positively to our offer, the Wali and Baghdad has sent orders to the Admiral of the Fleet in Basra to steam for Muscat and assist the Sultan. Led by Rauf Pasha, the expedition furthermore consists of 1,500 soldiers from the Ottoman 6th Army and the German-produced armoured cars fit for desert warfare. Whilst not included as part of the military expeditions, a representative of the Turkish Petroleum Company and various members of the bureaucratic corps at Basra have been sent along to influence the Muscati government and hopefully retrieve a reward for our assistance. Good luck, Pasha. So the Oman has now been guaranteed by us because the Sultanate of Nejd was making angry noises towards them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the Camel Corps on the border here with Saudi and basically be like, now don't be naughty, because there will be consequences if you decide to be naughty. Now that we've browbeaten Syria and our volunteers are starting to arrive, so the Pacific volunteers over here under Faretin, that's fine. You can be the offensive general, which is that guy, and then you can have the other marshal, which is the defensive one, which is that guy. Okay, so you are in Spain, where the rain falls mainly on the plain. And I think I'm going to try and assist in the attack on Madrid. If we could take Madrid, that would be a big deal. And then you are here to help pushing, hopefully to get a cut-off. from, say, Dallas down to Houston. And we'll try and take more of Texas. Yeah, AUS is starting to really implode. The end game of this war is going to be Pacific States versus Communist States of America. This is still undecided. The Syrian League of National Action reports have been brewing for a while now after the electoral defeat of the decentralized coalition of 1935 of a new party of the second generation of Syrian nationalists, promising to be a young, dynamic and very different from the traditional Damascene parties. This new party is today announced to the public under the leaders of Samand Sabarati, Abdurazik al-Danashi, Irfan al-Jalad and Sarfik Suleiman as the League of National Action. In opposition to the old elite deeply ingrained within the Ottoman civil system, the new party promises to be a voice for the Syrian youth and work together with other Arab nationalist forces to hasten the autonomy of Syria it has been striving for. Likely influenced by Egyptian rhetoric, the League of National Action has also embraced a Qawmi, or Greater Arab Identity, as opposed to the Syrian-focused Watani identity of the Damascene elite. Despite their enthusiasm, however, so far interest from the regions outside of Syria has been lukewarm at best, and even within Syria the message doesn't seem to reach further than Damascus. These are just bored youngsters. We lose more deputies. Brilliant. Reconciliation with Bulgaria, in what many consider a surprising move. The Bulgarian government has, in what may be considered a reconciliatory tone, attempted to foster ties and build relations between our two nations, citing the stability of the Balkans as a key reason for fostering ties. While we're under no obligation to accept, perhaps doing so would be a great boon for the sublime Ottoman Federation. So, we have taken Thrace, which we saw as rightfully ours, back from the Bulgarians during the Balkan War. The other Balkan nations are currently embroiled in a war against Austria and may well get taken over by the Austrians. Bulgaria right now is an independent entity. And that might be a nice buffer between us and Austria. So we can say yes and basically increase relations with them, or we can say no and decrease relations with the potential future intention of conquering Bulgaria. However, it should be noted we still have a lot of internal issues to deal with. So making an enemy on the other front may not necessarily be a good idea. However, as is always the case in at least this run. Poll time! Reconciliation with Bulgaria? Question mark. We shall accept. Absolutely not! Which do you think we should do? Should we accept this olive branch offered to us from the Bulgarians? This is not us offering it, this is them coming to us. Or should we turn them away? Get your votes in. Vote, vote, vote. Summon the elector counts. This action does not have my consent. All of the other good Warhammer quotes. Vote, vote, vote. Get your votes in. Yeah, lots of people are voting, so I think it is working. I find it amusing that Baldur's Gate is apparently adding sex scenes. Yeah. Unfortunately, that seems to be the trend these days. Right. We shall accept came in with 88% of the vote, which I would say is fairly overwhelming, so... Alright, Bulgaria, your olive branch. We'll accept it. Seems fine to me. Meanwhile, we're being justified against by Najd. They are probably going after Muscat. Pressure Muscat and Oman. Yep. So we will see if they're actually willing to pull this trigger or not. Interesting. Do you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this line. To like this. And we'll just try and cut across the base down here. So in fact, let's also say you. Go from there. And then we can squeeze after that. Alright, so we've just got radio, so we could start researching radar, but I don't think that's much of a call for it. We could start doing the new technology, which I think would be great, and then also probably better guns. We're already working on CAS, right? That's CAS? Yeah. Yeah! How long until this focus is finished? 35 days. We're about halfway. Alright. And we have until October 39 to sort out the political situation with the various deputies and how much they hate us. We'll probably lose the next election. I think it's going to be very difficult to pull that one back. Games should have a clear streamer censor mode if they want to be streamed on Twitch or whatever. Yeah, like some games do that. And if, for example, Baldur's Gate 3... I mean, here's the thing. Baldur's Gate 3 is clearly being developed with an eye on Twitch. I mean, they already have the Twitch integration in early access, which is fantastic. So I wouldn't be surprised if they add that. Cyberpunk, I'm less convinced will. And yeah, we probably should turn off the training. So that they can get prepared. The Arabs demand more representation in the armed forces. Launched by a group of Syrian and Iraqi officers, a campaign was organised to demand more Arab representation in the upper levels of the military. Currently almost solely inhabited by the Turks, many of which are from the Balkans, the Arabs demand equal representation and more general positions for the Arab officers. Furthermore, they also demand that the Muzirs, the field marshals of the Syrian, Hijazi, and Iraqi armies always be Arab, and their actions are scrutinised more carefully by their provincial assemblies. So if we accept this, we lose some stability. Authoritarian democracy increases pretty radically. Baghdad and Syrian unrest goes down. And net neutral in terms of deputies. Or everyone gets pissed off. So this is basically exchanging stability and political control in exchange for unrest reduction, or not gaining unrest. Now, in terms of how we've actually been managing the armies, we have been massively decentralizing. We have got a centralized army, but that army, I feel, should be representative of the entire nation. That's what we've been doing pretty radically. Like, we've been decentralizing political control to all of the different regions. And I do feel like the army should be decentralized, but it should be subservient to just the state. But that doesn't mean that the army composition itself shouldn't be made up of all of the different constituent parts. Yeah, we are going to do a vote. I'm just giving you kind of the ideas here behind what should colour your thinking. So, in terms of accepting their demands, I think that is in line with how we've been running our politics so far. But if we say no, then that's going to be more centralized control, which is also in keeping with what we've been doing so far. It's just which is kind of seen as the more important. The other thing is do we trust them? More representation. So we can accept their demands and have more Arab influence in the military, which again, we'll go with our decentralization thing. We say, what a bunch of bogus, because we frankly don't trust them, because they've already been making rude noises in our general direction. And vote. This could ensure their loyalty, though. If we do bring them and make them part of the ruling regime, we may ensure their loyalty and the loyalty of the armed forces in those regions. So get your votes in. Vote, vote, vote. Why can't we have a compromise here? Appoint more diverse but not make it mandatory. They must be Arab. Yeah, that would have been best. Without a doubt. Probably easier for an Arab to follow orders. Their officers are also Arabic. Yeah, exactly. And because we have elevated all of the Arabic regions to Vilayet and decreased the core provinces in Turkey to Vilayet, everyone's completely equal in terms of political representation. So the military representation should probably be the same. Game is back, by the way. Yeah, but for how long? The game has been back up a couple of times. Unfortunately, Papa Gargantus. It's just not been stable enough to maintain it. Sorry. Okay, Evil Snowball contributed 7,000 channel points. Thank you very much for doing that. What a bunch of bogus! Lost with 32%, which does mean that accepting their demands with 68% of you is what we're going to do. So this is going to exchange some stability and some authoritarian democracy, which is going to drop our stability even further, because less party popularity. We're down to just 34%. I think that's the lowest it's been... Wait, 34? Yeah, that just hadn't updated. Okay. Arabs, Turks, Syrians, whatever, can all die equally in the armed force of the Ottomans. Exactly. Anti-Zionist actions in Iraq. After protests were ultimately quelled by the Wali of Baghdad for their disruptive nature, various Arab and Muslim groups expressed their grief in different ways. Days of mourning have been declared. Prayers recited for the souls of those who perished in Palestine. And newspapers appear bordered in black. Even more disturbing is a romantic attachment to the flag of the failed Arab revolt, which has regularly started to show up all across these gatherings. Although its usage is officially banned by the state, many Arab gendarmerie units are refusing to intervene, causing its disruption to increase at a rapid pace. Mosul unrest increases. Ali Renzandaf, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Yeet Boy, Wardenista, and the thank you very much for the follows. Welcome to the channel. Twitch does allow nudity as long as you mark it as an 18+. Yeah, but I don't want to have that on my streams. My streams are, like, supposed to be PG-12. I'll happily mark it as mature for, like, 15+, but I don't want it to be an adult stream. That's not what I want to show on this channel. Failed coup d'etat in Cairo. Gunfire could be heard earlier today in Cairo as a group of conspirators stormed the palace. Also, YouTube most certainly does not allow that. Huzzah! So if they're expecting YouTubers to cover those games, then they're going to need to have those options to censor it. Calling themselves the Society of Justice, the group was planning to restore Abbas II to the throne. The last Ottoman Khedive, Abbas II, has recently... Oh, hang on. Cairo. Gunfire could be heard today in Cairo as a group of conspirators stormed the palace, calling themselves Society of Justice. The group was planning to restore Abbas II to the throne. The last Ottoman Khedive, Abbas II, has recently seen an increase in the popularity across the Muslim world due to the Islamist ideas, giving rise to various groups wishing for his return. Nonetheless, the failed coup attempt has come to the advantage of the Cairo regime, as the close relations between the Khedive and the Ottoman government has shifted public opinion squarely against the Turks. Farouk I himself has already called the attack on his life a vicious plan by the imperialist Turks to smother Arab independence, and has reportedly started calling for military action against the port. Wait, we didn't do anything, did we? No, we actually didn't. We've been, like, promoting Arab nationalism. The MOJ halts further Jewish immigration. In response for increasing calls by the Muslim population and the Jerusalem riot only a few weeks earlier, the International Council in Jerusalem has officially decreed an end to the Jewish immigration and has decreed that no further settlers will be allowed entry into the zone until an accord has been reached with the local leaders. Whilst it is unlikely to fully stop immigrants from coming in due to the limited resources of the Council to enforce the decree, this marks an important turning point in the policy of the MOJ and an affront to both Balfour and the Talat declarations. Palestine will never be free so long as foreigners decide its policy. Murder in Baghdad. As tensions continue to mount in the MOJ, the aggressive action undertaken by the international gendarmerie, relations between the Muslims and the Jews within the Ottoman Empire itself are deteriorating. Last week, 2 Jewish people were shot in the streets of Baghdad by unknown persons, either for personal or political motives. A few days later, another Jew was killed, prompting demand from the Jewish community in the city for the gendarmerie protection, which the Wali complied. Although further attacks have thus far not occurred, this only further confirms the fears of growing instability in the Mashriq. Baghdad unrest increases. Yes, the MOJ is this area, which is Palestine / Proto-Israel. Musharit of Jerusalem. And it is guaranteed by a number of different nations. The USA pulled out, so it is currently guaranteed by Austria, Canada, Germany, and us. Oh, it is actually one of our puppets. Huh. Wait, no it's not. The hell is a mandate? Or is that just the lowest level of puppet? Yeah, it is. So Yemen, Cyrenaica and Armenia are all vilayets. No, they're not. These two are emirates. That's an international mandate. And that's a vilayet. They're all different, but they're at the same level. However, we could turn them into a nominal puppet if we wanted to. And yes, they do have a focus tree as well. The chief rabbi denounces the Zionist program. Continued attacks on the Jewish community in Baghdad and threats in local newspapers demanding the rabbi expresses his opposition to the Zionist project and international Jewry in general have forced the chief rabbi of the city to ultimately comply. To further relieve tensions amongst the Muslim populations, meetings to explain the Palestine situation were organised in Baghdad mosques after prayers commemorating the ascent of the Prophet. Whether it was the message of the high attendance of plainclothes policemen which stopped further escalation is unclear. A wise decision. Okay, we've got the Inspectorate of Army Modernisation. Now we can get the camels. Finally! Specialised desert regiments. Although several attempts have been made already to set up specialised regiments in Libya and Central Arabia consisting of Bedouin and local tribesmen, these operations only usually lasted for a few years. This was to change after the Weltkrieg as the new impetus to defend the southern frontier led to the creation of the Iraqi Camel Corps, a practice that was soon imitated across the Middle East. Just want to see what the stuff up here is. So they've settled American immigrants, they've settled Eastern European immigrants. Coordinate Jewish land acquisition. However, we've halted the immigration, or they've halted the immigration. And yeah, they've integrated their economy with us. Rather than going independent. And this would actually have them integrate themselves with us. Which I guess is actually one of the ways that the Cairo Pact war can start. If we don't compensate Egypt for the loss of Sinai. Raid on the Sublime Porte. Discontent by the path of the Liberal government and concerned by the risks posed by their reforms to the integrity of the Ottoman nation, the 2nd Division of the First Army has executed a coup earlier today, arresting the Grand Vizier and his ministers during the morning in what some call a repeat of the raid on the Sublime Porte. Just before the Weltkrieg, the armed forces under the command of Field Marshal Fevzi Pasha through his action effectively have taken control over the capital. With communication lines out to the hinterland, many are now wondering what future awaits them. Sultan Abdulmesid II has for now not taken an official stance concerning the events, preferring to wait the storm out, fearful of his own position may be on the line. What is happening? Ah, shoot, the Conservatives have shifted. Damn it. Unfortunately, I think I'm out of places where I can get Conservative support. They've just been such a massive problem. Because I now have the political power to do this. That's independence. Yeah, I think that The Ottoman democracy is dead. I don't think that we can save it. However, what we can do is build aeroplanes now. Because we just can't lower taxes anywhere anymore.